for this. Or unless you think the crackling fire would be good for the effect.
Is there a way you can turn it down a little?
Yep.
Yeah, I think that's fine. Bit of
Okay.
ambiance. No, not against that.
Okay, let's just check the audio to make sure that works. Uh, because this is a very low tech
Oh, we're
stream.
live now.
Yep, we are. I've got to check the audio, see if that works.
Difficult to check it by yourself because, you just hear yourself back.
Yeah, and I'm also going to pass what we're saying from what I'm hearing on the stream.
I can't see our webcams.
Now you can.
There might be a... Oh, yeah, now I can, yeah.
Yeah. That's what happens when I click off Discord, so I'm just going to have to not do that.
Discord Fever. Yeah, I'll check the chat for you.
Okay, no, I can see the chat. I can see the chat.
Oh,
I'm on
right.
OBS. Right. Hello.
Hello.
Yeah. Hello there, guys, gals, and non-binary pals, and welcome back to Tome. Things a little different this... hold on. Sorry, I've not muted the Twitch stream. I'm hearing myself again. Just a second.
You fool.
Okay, and... Okay. Hello there, guys, gals, and non-binary pals, and welcome back to Tome Raider. Things are being a little different this week. Dan's not here, unfortunately, but I have someone who's almost as good.
Aye.
I'm kidding. I have
Different metrics of measuring people.
yeah. Yeah, I'm kidding. I'm here with my friend Seb, and we have something we've both really been wanting to discuss for a while. By the
But
way,
we've
if
both
you
experienced
can,
in different ways.
yeah. By the way, if you can get the Twitch stream up in the background, I would appreciate
It
that.
is, it is. I
Oh,
literally just said it
it,
was.
it says just one, and I thought that was me. Okay. Right. Okay, fair enough. So I what was that? My webcam just did a weird thing. I about a month ago, because that's how long we've been trying to get together to do this thing, I read
Mhm.
A Gentleman in Moscow, which is a very good book. Uh,
Upon my recommendation, by
yeah,
the way.
yes, because you saw the TV series
Yes, I did. It's streaming on Paramount Plus, and that's how I saw it.
starring Ewan McGregor.
Oh my gosh, yes. I've got a bit of an anecdote about the making of that. Um, shall I very quickly say it so we can move on?
Yeah, go ahead, go ahead.
Yeah, so as part of my university course, we went to a play that starred Les Dennis, and we spoke to him afterwards. He recorded a message for the POS show, which was my radio show I produced at university. And he was telling me, this was in Bolton, by the way,
Yeah.
that they'd been filming A Gentleman in Moscow, and that if I was there the day before, I probably would have run into Ewan McGregor because they were filming just outside the theatre. So that would have been cool. Shame I didn't do that. I didn't really see any evidence of filming when I was there. I believe they filmed it in quite a few northern towns. Don't quote me on this, but I think they might have also gone to Leeds, Doncaster, a few places. Suppose it's cheaper and, well, a lot safer than actually filming in Moscow.
I suppose it would be.
Yeah. But yeah, just to quickly summarize, I absolutely loved the show and I can't wait to read the book, which Holly has kindly lent me.
Yeah, about a month ago when we were in Nottingham. Have you started it yet?
No, I'm going to start it today, though.
This is why I don't lend books out. No, I'm kidding.
You haven't
I
finished the one
have.
I've given you, have you?
I've started it.
I'm reading about 6 books at the moment.
So
I'm
am
currently
I.
going through a biography of King Zog of Albania.
Oh, that must be a trip.
Yeah, I'm not going to say a lot more because otherwise I will go on a tangent. Why is there an airport sound?
Yeah, sorry. For some reason I got the Messenger app on desktop so that I could not have Facebook open, and it goes through my TV speakers, and I don't know how to get it to stop. I'm just gonna close that.
I'm going to assume that the 12:57 to Boston is departing shortly.
Yes. uh, right. So, A Gentleman in Moscow. Well, I really like the book. It starts. it's written in a way that makes me feel better about my own writing style, which is very like
Ponderous.
yeah. Well, I was gonna say that's very self-indulgent to say, but yeah, there's a lot of tangents there, and like this book makes such an art of the digression that it's
But
like
I assume that all the digressions are relevant to the characters and teach you something about them. And
yeah, yeah. Which, like, as someone who fancies himself a writer, I've always been told by pretty much everyone to pare down what it is I'm saying.
yeah, well, that's another screenwriting tip.
Yeah,
Write as much dialogue as you like, then pare it down from there to the essentials and what works really well.
yeah, yeah. But I really like the style of this book. It's not exactly dry, but it is very witty.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's another aspect of the main character, Alexander, I believe it was, that I really enjoyed. See, here's my problem. I remember everything about the show, every little detail, every moment. For some reason, I struggle with remembering nearly every character's name. I just
yeah.
remember them as the actor who plays them or what they looked like.
I remember Alexander, Nina, the little girl.
Yeah,
Uh,
she was the older little girl, right? And then there was
yeah.
the little girl later. I
What,
can't remember the name of.
her daughter,
Yeah, that's right.
Sophie, I believe, was the little girl.
Sophie, yes, that's right. Yeah, yeah.
It has been a month since I've read it, but the Count comes across as a very charming man, and
To quote Morrissey,
is it?
this charming man.
Yeah, and well, everyone likes him apart from that one guy who tries to make his life difficult.
I just call him the dickhead. I can't remember what his name
The
is, and I
book
assume you
refer
mean.
the book
Yeah, go on.
refers to him as the bishop. Now, I don't think he's an actual bishop,
Yeah,
but
well, no.
I think the Count calls him that because he's self-important. I
Ah,
think.
yeah. I don't remember him being called that in the show, but maybe I've just
Yeah,
forgotten. Because
yeah,
I was confused when you were telling me about the bishop. I was like, wait,
yeah,
there's a bishop in it.
yeah. No, he's the guy that is eventually manager of the hotel. Okay. I'm going to assume if you're watching this stream, you have either read the book or seen the series. But
Yeah.
just to cover all bases, A Gentleman in Moscow is about a fictional count condemned to house arrest in a hotel metropole in Moscow between the years 19 is it
I think
1920?
it was 1921 through to, well, was it 1951 when Stalin died?
Uh, yeah,
Spoiler alert, Stalin dies.
I mean Stalin doesn't die in the book. It is
Well,
well,
no.
it is
His
referenced that
death is a major event.
yeah, uh, yeah, like the book covers that portion of history between
Yeah,
the basically the end of the Bolshevik revolution.
resolution. We are determined to be Bolshevik.
Your
I mean, it kind of
webcam's
was
got
a
a bit of
resolution.
Bolshevik resolution.
Uh, Photographers would love that.
uh, uh,
Yeah,
yeah,
anyway, we were saying.
the end of the Bolshevik revolution until the death of Stalin, and he lives all that time inside this hotel, unable to leave, and it's essentially it's a story about making the best of your circumstances. I think.
Yeah, and it also about like finding a sense of community with people who you wouldn't necessarily have done to begin with.
Yeah,
Like the Count's
there's
not
big
somebody.
sorry, there's big found family like
Hmm.
vibes in this book, which is something I just love in anything.
Yeah, he literally finds himself a family.
Yeah,
Like he meets the actress, who I know as Mary
Anna.
Elizabeth Winstead. Yeah, Hannah, that's right.
Yeah.
And she is good in that. She is so good in the show. I love it.
I haven't seen the show, and I know you've told me that he's played by Ewan McGregor, but I can't help but picture David Tennant because like he reads like David Tennant should to me, And
Well,
also,
Ewan McGregor is the David Tennant of Star Wars when you think about it.
well, that's partly why I can't, because I picture Ewan McGregor and I picture him in like full Jedi get-up, which like does not gel with the image of a 1930s hotel in Moscow.
Well, when he's telling Nina, like as a kid, about the duel that he had with, over his sister's honor,
Da,
but when he's telling the
da.
story with regret, like makes it seem like he's talking about the events on Mustafar and Revenge of the Sith. Also,
Uh,
he does say hello there in the show,
oh, brilliant. Yeah.
but it wasn't done as an Easter egg. I genuinely believe that was just like natural
Okay.
dialogue.
So I've seen a promotional image and he's got a big moustache in
Yes.
that. Like, does he have that throughout? I just want to ask.
I think there's bits where the moustache is pared down a bit because wasn't there that scene where he goes to the barber shop and someone fucks up his moustache just to spite him?
Yeah, yeah, that's like right at the
That happened in
beginning.
the show.
And then
Yeah.
he asks for a clean shave. And in the book, he
Hmm.
stays clean shaven from that point on. Because that day at the restaurant, that's when Nina approaches him to ask where his moustaches have gone. Now, I don't understand the pluralizing of moustache. So,
I think it's just moustache, isn't it?
yeah, but the book always
There
says,
are many moustache.
yeah, the book always says moustaches as if there
No,
are multiple.
I suppose they consider the different sides of the face as
Yeah, that's gotta be it because I picture like imagine if Doctor Eggman had the moustache 3 times like whiskers. Like
yeah.
that's what I picture when I hear moustaches.
He can use them to glide a short distance.
But they vibrate like a hummingbird's wings.
Yeah. I think there is one scene where he was clean shaven, but almost entirely they keep his moustache. I suppose it's
Yeah.
just for consistency and
Yeah, visual catchphrase, I suppose.
yeah.
Yeah.
And it's kind of weird because he plays this character over 30 years in the show. And I don't know if I was just really immersed, but there was no suspension of disbelief there. Like whether he was meant to be in his 20s or 50s, I believed it. I
Oh.
don't know.
Well,
It's a phenomenon.
I'll have to watch the show and see for myself. But generally speaking, he finds a way to make the best of everything. And one thing I like when he first gets his study by knocking through the back of his closet
Yes.
because they relegate him to the servants' quarters.
Mm.
And one thing I've got to point out is that the back of the book asks the question, can a life without luxury be the richest one of all? The guy's imprisoned in a hotel metropole.
Yeah.
Yeah, like
I mean, it's probably gone for dogs a bit under Soviet rule. Like, it's not as
like
nice as it used to be, but they do make it nice for the
yeah,
foreign visitors.
yeah. They keep it nice for the foreign visitors for the purposes of keeping up appearances and also spying on them.
Yeah.
Yeah. But also like that's not a life without luxury. Yeah, he's relegated to the
No.
servants' quarters, but in a hotel that has servants' quarters.
Yeah, but also I wouldn't consider being imprisoned the opposite, freedom of being a luxury. I suppose it is in the Soviet Union if you're considered counter-revolutionary, but
Yeah.
generally speaking, I wouldn't consider being able to just like leave your house a luxury.
No, I suppose not. Um, like, you like the option. I very often don't leave my house because I don't like, because
You don't like people.
I didn't want to say it. No, I very,
Well, I said it for you.
no, days go by when I don't leave my house because, I don't like buses. They're not very good round
Yeah,
here.
they're inconvenient, I agree. Anyway,
And
that's another tangent.
yeah, but
Let's talk about the gentleman who resides in
I was gonna
Moscow.
say I like the option. If
Yeah,
I like knowing that I can.
yeah, that's the important part, and I think that's probably why it's so demoralizing to the Count
Yeah,
because in the first couple of episodes he's in quite a low place,
yeah.
and
I was
it's only later on that he begins to adapt to it.
yeah, yeah, and I was gonna say during lockdown I was in like full do not leave the house like shielding mode because several at risk groups, and that was pretty rough. So I do get the difference between choosing not to leave and not being able to.
Absolutely. And maybe I wonder if that book and well, it was released in 2016, but I wonder if the book and the show possibly connected with people a bit more because of that.
I wish I had this book back then. I wish I'd known about it. Apparently,
Yeah.
who is now Queen Camilla, like recommended that book at the time.
Really?
Yeah,
Do you know what? Like that's quite a good yeah, that's quite a good call.
yeah. I looked it up. I was looking up when it came out, and like so I hope I'm pronouncing the author's name right. Amor Towles. Uh,
Amor Tolls, I
yeah,
think. I don't know.
like
Yeah, I think it's Amor.
is not Russian, but seems to have a lot to say about Russian writers, and it makes me want to read things like the Brothers Karamazov and Anna Karenina.
Yeah,
Because,
classics. I can't say I've read them either,
yeah,
to be honest
I
with you.
have War and Peace on my bookshelf out there, right?
Yeah.
And apparently there are like 350 odd chapters, but each one's only like 5 minutes long. So a good way to read that is 5 minutes a day over the course of a year.
I wonder if it was serialized at the time because I know that's how a lot of Dickens books were released.
Yeah, yeah. But back to A Gentleman in Moscow. So,
Yes.
the clean-shaven face is what prompts Nina to sit at his dining table and ask where his moustache has gone. And the amount of spin-off events from that encounter.
Yes. I love how it's just him being nice or him like taking the time to speak to someone just has dividends later on down the line. Like how he makes friends with all the hotel staff and he begins to work at the hotel. And in the end, when he does have to break the rules for the sake of saving his adopted daughter, they all help him cover it up and stay
Yeah.
by his side.
Oh, I love that scene so much. Oh,
I know, it was
my
so
God.
rewarding.
When he okay, so I don't know if how much of this comes through in the show, and I'm spoiling the
Yeah,
book for you a bit here, but in the
it's all
book,
right.
him and Sophie have this game where if she sees him going back to the room, and
Yeah.
she will get back there before him using secret servant stairwells and what have you, and
Yeah, that
scare
was in the
him when he
show.
gets back to the room. He'll open the doors and go, "Hello, Papa," and he's like, "Jesus."
There is something like that in the show. I think they condense it down to one scene rather
Yeah.
than it being something that recurs.
But it's established as happening as having happened multiple times, and then he beats her back to the room, and then he waits a
Yeah,
few minutes, and it's like, that's odd. Where is she? And then
yeah,
his seamstress friend bursts in and goes, "Count, it's Nina. She's fallen on the stairs." And
yeah.
yeah,
So how that plays out in the show is that happens, but they're sort of closer behind each other. So she's just behind him, and he hears her fall down the stairs as soon as he gets in the room. So I suppose it just speeds up the scene.
yeah, yeah. In the book, he waits in the room for a bit until someone else tells him, and
Interestingly, we both had the same reaction, didn't we? Where it was so abrupt as an event, we both had to go back and make sure we witnessed what we witnessed.
yeah, and then I had to put the book down for a bit because like there's the whole sequence where well he violates his curfew to get her to the hospital,
Yeah.
and then like it turns out they get a surgeon. She's gonna be fine. Everything's fine. He goes back. They smuggle him back to the hotel in a bread truck.
Yeah. Also, the guy who was the NKVD agent who was tasked with watching over him, who later becomes a bit of a friend in the show, he
Osip.
yeah, Osip, that's right. He tried to discourage him, obviously very strongly, and he kept arguing that he needed to be with his daughter, and he was the one who convinced him to go back.
Yeah.
I don't know if it
No,
unfolds the same way in the book.
I think it does. I think it does. But they do like. I mean, he's sympathetic. How could you not be?
Yeah.
But
Also, I love how this show slash book. I mean, I've not read the book.
also in the book, that's
Uh,
the first
yeah,
time he refers to her as his daughter.
yeah. It might have happened before in the show. I can't remember.
Yeah.
I do like how this story uses historical events in interesting ways. Like, for example, the death of Stalin not the movie, the historical event.
Yeah.
Um, so for most people in the Soviet Union, there would probably be a bit of a silent, suppressed sigh of relief because things were liberalized to some extent after that, and a lot of the people who were being persecuted, there was no need to persecute them anymore. But it's an interesting sort of dichotomy where that causes trouble for the Count because of he's tasked on spying to find out who the successor is going to be, but also um, Osip is going to be accountable for everything he did under orders of Stalin, and he's the most helpful person to the Count at this particular time. So
Yeah.
what should be an event that everyone celebrates is something that like is his undoing, which is interesting.
Yeah. And oh god, speaking of his undoing, the event that was almost his undoing was the delabeling of wine, and I don't know if that ever happened historically, but what happens is, um,
It's the sort of thing that would have done.
the hotel manager that comes to be known as the bishop,
Yeah.
he shows him up on a wine order in front of a guest. Basically, he
Yes.
recommends wine badly, and the count corrects him. The next day,
Yeah.
he sits down to order, and he orders a specific wine, and the bishop says, "No, I'm sorry, that wines are only red or white now." And he's like, "Okay, is the man simple? What I was asking for a specific." And then he goes down to the wine cellar to find that all the wine has been delabeled, and
Yeah.
everything is sold as either red or white wine at the same price. Which now I don't know much about wine, but I can't imagine anyone who does would be happy about that.
No, and it's kind of tragic because it's one of those things you can never put back. I mean,
Yeah,
it's like a lot of the Stalinist changes, when they happened, they couldn't completely be reversed because, there's a lot of people who are dead who are never coming back. There's a lot of things that have been removed that can never be brought back. It's sort of like the impermanence of it, right?
yeah, and also like, but okay, I don't know anything about wine, but I know what it's like to have something you care about uh be treated reductively like that.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah, and that brings him low. He basically decides then and there that there's nothing left for him in this world, and
Also, it's quite a sympathetic look at that kind of high culture thing because some people might just think it's snobbishness and not that important, but to him it matters a lot. Like this
yeah,
is stuff he cares about, that he's passionate about.
yeah, and well, it doesn't really matter what you're passionate about. There are people who care about everything.
Yeah, exactly. Sometimes bafflingly so, but who are
Yeah,
we to say?
yeah, but like he finds, because there's a sort of a mark in the glass, he finds a specific wine despite the absence of label, and takes it, and decides that on the 10th anniversary or something of his sister's death, he's going to finish that wine and then just pitch himself off the roof.
Oh, I don't remember that last part being in the show. I think he's a bit more optimistic at that point, but he did have the suppose I think it was a funeral for his mother in the show. Was
Ah,
that in the book?
um, I can't remember if there was a funeral for his mother, but there was the death of his sister was mentioned a lot.
Yeah, that was a huge event for him as the
Yeah.
character.
Um, but the thing that stops him is the old blind caretaker. Um, the bees come back, and he shares some honey with him, and
Yeah.
just that interaction timed the way it was. I mean, like he,
Small moments of kindness, right?
yeah.
And
Well,
this book's full of them.
yeah. The caretaker's eyes were going, but he could still see who it was there. I don't think he could see that he was making ready to jump.
No. He seemed quite calm about it in the show as well.
Yeah. And so he shares some honey with him because the bees have coming back and it's good. And then he asks for a job on the wait staff, and in a few years he's head waiter Rostov.
Yeah, so those events, that was the end of episode 2 and the beginning of episode 3 is when he became a waiter.
Yeah, and him, the head chef, and someone else, they form the triumvirate, as they call it.
Yes,
The triumvirate of the hotel. I love it.
yeah, and the cook and the girl cook, I can't remember their names, but they end up having a kid, don't they?
I don't remember that, but it must
Maybe
have
that was
happened.
added for the show. I don't know. I'm gonna read the book and I'll be interested to see.
Yeah. I don't remember everything that happened in the book. I read it a month ago.
Yeah. Also, I kind of like that the old hotel manager very subtly sticks up for the count. You know, like he
Yeah,
stops things going too far, and
yeah. Because that guy, the bishop, who does eventually become manager, definitely, well, he clearly has it out for him. He's
yeah, he's the
waiting for the.
worst kind of job's worth.
Yeah, no, he's waiting for the count to do something he can report.
Yes. Oh, and the actor who plays him, I don't remember who it was in the TV show, but he was despicable in the best possible way. I loved it.
Yeah. Uh, although, it is sort
John
of.
Heffernan.
It's never like it's never outright stated in the book that Sophie was the one who set those geese loose, but it's established that it was.
Yeah, that was a weird moment because that happened in the show. It was only a small part of it, though. It was literally one scene. But I thought the whole episode was going to be like a Bottle episode, but was like Dunstan checks in where he has to get the goose back.
That would have been hilarious.
I think if the show was longer, I would have loved to have seen that as an episode.
Yeah. I googled the book once, and one of the often search results is "Will there be a Gentleman in Moscow season 2?" No,
What would that
no,
story even be? They just live in the woods for like 20 years and never see their daughter again.
that's one thing I didn't like about. Well, I won't say I didn't like it, but I
It's
wanted.
bittersweet, isn't it?
It is. I wanted them all together.
Yeah, so did I. And I was praying for it to happen, and then it was in the last 5 minutes of the show, and I was like, "There's not going to be enough time for like something good to happen." I was just relieved that it was implied he lived.
Yeah. The book establishes that he lived. Like the.
I think it's a bit more ambiguous in the show because the way it's shot is a bit dreamlike. So, and there's like the black apple that like appears as a motif. So it feels very ambiguous in the show, whereas from what you've told me, it's very unambiguous. He and the actress live
Yeah.
in the book.
The last page of the book is him going to where his estate used to be, and going to a local inn and meeting up with Anna. Well, it doesn't mention her by name, but the last words of the book are "the willowy woman waited," and she's described as willowy throughout the book. So
Oh, I can't picture her as willowy.
I'm not sure what that would like.
Yeah, because like when you think of willow, like you think of a tree, don't you? Or
Yeah.
um, Warwick Davis, I suppose. But and she, Mary Elizabeth Winstead looks like neither.
uh,
Yeah, we all remember in Scott Pilgrim when she said, "Many of these trees are my friends."
uh,
Yeah, abstract descriptions like that confuse me a bit.
yeah. I guess that means maybe tall and thin.
Yeah, ish.
Yeah. But
But they're married in real life, I believe.
what, you
Ewan
and
McGregor and Mary
McGregor?
Elizabeth
Ah,
Winstead. Yeah,
so
they are together at least. So I'm guessing that's why those casting choices were made. And
yeah.
interestingly enough, Kenneth Branagh was originally cast to play the lead in this. Now, I like him as an actor, but I feel like Ewan McGregor's more personable, and because of that, I just can't really picture anyone else as the Count.
Of the two, I think Ewan McGregor was the better choice. Not that I wouldn't have
Yes.
liked to see Kenneth Branagh in the role, but when I actually watch the show, I'll try and picture it.
Yeah, like Ewan McGregor really gets across kindness well without really doing much.
Yeah. That must be why I pictured David Tennant, because that was always his doctor's shtick, wasn't it?
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Uh, but yeah, I loved this book. It's like it's rambling a bit and digression-y without ever feeling like it's not getting to the point.
Yeah.
It
Well, the point is the digression, right?
yeah, as I say before, it makes such an art of the digression as a concept.
And it'll be interesting reading the book and seeing like the difference between the show, because I suppose in the show a lot more of that's done with dialogue rather than internal thoughts. And in the show, it's narrated by the daughter character.
Oh, so you. Oh, so it's like she's narrating a flashback.
Yeah, so I think she narrates at the beginning of each episode and very occasionally whenever it's needed. And basically at the end she says, "Well, I never knew what happened to my father and mother.
Oh, that
I
makes
like to believe they
sense.
got out of there." Yeah. So she basically confirms they were never reunited, which again is sad.
Yeah, but also they were because the last page of the book is that happening. Oh no,
Oh, is it?
no.
Oh,
I thought you meant him and Anna. No,
no, the daughter.
no, she defects to the west, which I,
Yes.
I mean, Count Rostov was never going to do that.
Well, no, the plan was to get to Finland, but basically everything that everyone says and suggests in that last episode suggests that it's just not going to work out. Like they can try, but they'll get caught.
Right. I mean, I always
Yeah.
thought he didn't choose to go with her because, like, I mean, he. I wouldn't say he's proud. Like, I wouldn't say he's a proud Russian, but he is Russian, and yeah,
Yeah, Matt comes across in the show as well.
yeah,
Also, like he does tell his daughter that he wants to defect to be with her when he shares the plan with her, but I think that was just for her sake to make sure she did it.
yeah.
I don't think she ever intended on it. I think that Anna probably did, but eventually she was just resigned to the fact that it just would not be possible.
Yeah. Well, we can hope that one day they found a way for it to happen.
Yeah, like I don't know, maybe they got out under Yeltsin as like 80-year-olds, and then I don't know how old they'd be by then. Actually, probably dead. That's a downer.
Yeah. So yeah, bittersweet ending, but wonderful piece of character writing, like cover to cover.
Oh yeah. And that's an aspect I liked about the show as well. All the minor characters had so much character. They were all very distinct, and considering how big the cast was and how a lot of the characters only appear a few times, it's quite remarkable how memorable everybody is. I say that not remembering many of the characters' names,
No,
but I
but you
remember the
remember the
performances.
characters.
Yeah, and I remember the characters and the
Yeah. Like
characterizations.
one thing I do want to get into is he discusses a lot of art with Osip. Like they start
Yes.
with books and then they go on to movies and they start watching Humphrey Bogart movies. I think the Count has a particular fondness for Casablanca.
Yeah, I remember that being mentioned. I don't think they watched Casablanca in the show. What I do remember is that they read War and Peace. They
They
watch
read what?
War and
I
Peace.
thought you said One Piece. It's like.
The War Piece is real.
Oh.
What do you think of Luffy?
Oh.
Anyway, yeah, they read War and Peace, the book you were talking about 20 minutes ago.
Yeah.
They watch It's a Wonderful Life, and Osip was saying how much. I nearly said Usopp then. Osip was.
I'm starting it now.
Well,
Oh.
yeah, anyway, Osip said that he was really enjoying it, and then like eventually just goes into how it's all just Western propaganda, and the Count's like, "You were so close to getting the point."
Yeah.
Also, they read Les Mis,
Do they?
which is hilarious. Yeah, they do, and there's
I
quite a
don't
good
remember
scene.
that.
Yeah, and there's quite. I don't know if that was in the book or whether that was just something that was translated to the show, and maybe they picked more familiar, like pop
Maybe.
culture to talk about. But anyway, they talk about Les Mis, and Osip does not understand Javert as a character or his motivations. And the way he talks about it, there's like so little, what's the word, self-awareness that he is basically Javert at that point in time, and the Count's
Oh.
just sort of laughing to himself about that. He's like, yeah, of course you wouldn't
I
insane.
don't
What do you mean by
remember
that?
that scene from the book, but I can definitely imagine it in there.
Yeah, I loved that scene. I think it was the beginning of an episode because sometimes they'd have near the beginning of the episode them like reading or watching something together.
Hmm. Yeah. Um. I remember once the Count suggests Casablanca, which they've seen a few times, and Osip doesn't really want to, and it's like, but it's not. And Osip says it's not a Humphrey Bogart movie; it's a movie with Humphrey Bogart in it. And the Count goes, "Au contraire, I think it is the Humphrey Bogart movie."
Yeah,
Which
yeah. I love that movie, by the way. I don't know if you've ever seen it,
I
Oliver. It's
have
very good.
not. I should get on that. I have a sizable
Oh, yeah.
gap in my filmic knowledge. We
Weird
made
thing is,
that list years ago.
yes, it'd be interesting to go through that list and see how much has been filled in the interim.
Yeah, probably not as much as you're hoping.
No, if anything, we're probably adding to it at this point.
Yeah, yeah,
But no, I loved the show. I've said that several times. It's paced in an interesting way because it's split into 8 episodes. First one's the whole court trial, and I lie about having not started the book because I read the first few pages of that. Um, then second one ends with him almost jumping off the roof and then changing his mind. Third one is all about him and Anna sort of like rekindling their romance. I believe it happens differently in the book from what you told me. Like originally they have a bit of a one night stand,
yeah.
and the count's like accidentally says something really tactless, and then Nina asks him to leave, and then he spends like in implied the next few years avoiding her, and then eventually works up the courage, upon the kid's request, to talk to her, and then she just says, "Well, no, I didn't hold any grudge over that. I just had enough of your company for the day." Sort of like he's been obsessing over that tiny discretion for years, and she'd just forgotten about it by that point.
That's very relatable.
Yeah, and I loved that.
uh, but no, that is different in the book because in the book, um, the his faux pas is he picks her blouse up off the floor to put it on to hang it up, and
Yeah, I suppose that would be much more confusing in the TV show to get across as
yeah.
something that would offend somebody.
And there's a big digression in the book of how she would throw her clothes on the floor from that day on and demand that they stay where she put them.
Yeah, I think in the show he accidentally just calls her common without really thinking about his wording.
Ah,
Something like that.
yeah,
But yeah, she's a character I like.
yeah,
Perfectly played.
yeah.
Great performances. What more is there to say?
In the book, it says she didn't go far when sound was invented because she didn't actually have that much of a voice for acting.
Yeah, I think that comes across as well. And also, the main reason for why her career goes downhill a bit is A, she's fallen out of favour with a lot of the new people in the inner circle, and B, she's gotten older and there's like younger, prettier actresses. Well,
Yeah.
I say prettier in inverted commas.
Well, in the book, she reinvents herself as a theatre actress and, well, gets some success back that way.
Yeah, I don't think that really happens in the show. I don't remember if it's mentioned. She just the acting part of her life just becomes less and less important later on in the show,
Yeah, I
and it's more
suppose
about
like
her and the count and the kid.
I suppose you can't include everything for pacing's sake, can you?
No, and I'll be interested to see what has been included and what's been omitted. In fact, perhaps something we could do, Ollie, and I'm suggesting this now, is once we've both read the book and seen the show, each of us, we come back and do this again and then
What, as
talk
a part
about.
two?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm up for
I
that.
mean, unlike A Gentleman in Moscow, there is scope for a part two.
Yes, yes. No, there won't be a season two. Anyone who googled that, the story was ultimately conclusive.
Yeah, and it was the same with another limited series with what was it called? The Chess Girl. What was the show?
The Queen's Gambit.
The Queen's Gambit. Yes. Imagine if it was just called The Chess Girl. That would be the most uninspired. Yeah, the Queen's Gambit, where people are like, is there going to be a Queen's Gambit part 2? But like, if you've seen it, it's very close-ended. I
Yeah.
mean, what's there to do after that? I don't know, like fight a Martian who turns out is really good at chess. You know, like she's beaten the best already. There's nothing more for her to do.
Yeah. Uh, what is it going to be like Rocky, where she defends her title against increasingly eccentric opponents?
Yes, I would love that. Although, like, she had the Russian early, so they've got to like try hard with the eccentricities.
Yeah.
Mr. T playing chess. Move my bishop, fool!
Get that while you can.
Get that pawn out of my face!
Oh.
Yeah. I don't have much more to say about the show.
No,
I can't recommend it enough, though.
yeah, I don't want to spoil the book for you, but it does seem like it's a largely faithful adaptation. Let's bring it into conclusion now. It does seem
Yeah.
like largely faithful adaptation. A few changes for pacing, for or just
No mean feat.
yeah.
And it must be a good adaptation because I think I like it around as much as you do. Like, I've got no complaints about the show.
Yeah, and well, I've been talking about the book, you've been talking about the show, and yet we've been able to have a conversation as if we're talking about the same thing. So
Yeah. Yeah, so yeah.
yeah,
Yeah, I think it's kind of tragic about the little girl because you know, the original little girl because you know, she died and never came back and you know,
yeah.
I think it's interesting that his friend did come back. And oh, we were talking about this. This is something we were both passionate about. The
Oh, the
scene where
bread
he's talking
thing.
about the German bread.
Yes. Oh, like no, no. In the book, he gets his lover to visit the count after his death and give him his book of poems, and like there is an entire book of different passages from different books that mention bread. Like he was that petty about it.
See, I think you can labour on the point, no pun intended, in the book, whereas in the show it was more succinct, but he still had a very good rant about the like oppressive policy on complimenting German bread,
Yeah.
and it was a very good
Yeah.
scene.
I think I read that rant to you in a coffee shop.
Yes, you did, and it was very similar to the show, except it was extended.
Yeah.
And you know, I will never complain about seeing more of that rant. And the fact that like it haunts the Soviet Union beyond the grave is hilarious to me. Like they're just gonna like after the fall of the Iron Curtain, they're just gonna be looking through the like declassified Soviet archives. They're just gonna find page after page this guy has written ranting about how he's not allowed to admit that German bread's pretty good actually.
Yeah.
I'd like to compare the two actually. Get me some Russian bread and some German bread, and I'll be the judge of that.
I've never had either.
I've probably had. Do you know what German bread? The only German bread I've had before is like very thin, very dark, and not that great. I think our bread's better.
Yeah.
But they must have lots of different types of bread.
Yeah, I have heard that.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know.
Yeah. Right. Well, I think we both agree that this is a good show slash book. We will
Yeah.
reconvene when I've watched the show and Seb has read the book.
Yeah.
And
I can't wait to get into this book.
okay, we hope you've enjoyed this shorter Tome Raider. I've quite enjoyed this.
Yeah. And I've yet to raid the tome, so next
Yes.
time I will have done.
Yeah. So thank you for joining us, those who did. And